Hi everyone, can everyone hear me good? Yeah, all right, thank you. Welcome to Deceptive UX Patterns talk. Today we'll expose manipulative design in the age of AI. My name is Vitaliy. I'm an engineer here from Columbus, Ohio. I promise this presentation is completely free. There's no hidden fees. You can leave room at any time. I'm not gonna send you to a retention hotline, or you don't have to fill out any forms. We're gonna trace the evolution of UX and deceptive patterns from the early age of HTML tricks to today's autonomous AI agents. How many of you accidentally started a subscription and found it really hard to cancel, or almost impossible? What about looking more than 5 minutes for unsubscribe link to a page? Yes. Anyone try to click that tiny close ad button, and then sometimes it jumps away and sneaks from under you? Anyone said sorry or please to ChatGPT or AI? I've done it. I've read that actually every time you say please, you spend more water somewhere in some data center. We're going to look at that as well. So first of all, what is a deceptive pattern? Formally, this term was coined in 2010 by Harry Brignall out of the UK, and he defines it as UI interactions designed to mislead or trick users into doing something they don't really want to do. And in today's talk, we'll talk into kind of few eras of it. In 2010, the term was first coined and immediately started being used in a lot of UI and websites and apps. Then came the era of growth hacking, where companies started nudge you to do things that you don't really want to do, trick you. We'll look at some examples of that. Then in 2021, Congress and lawmakers started looking at some of the tricks that companies play on their customers. And in 2024, just a few years ago, both in Europe and in US, the regulators started taking action to rein in some of these companies and policies. And finally, we're going to look at today's landscape in the age of AI. Obviously, probably every talk today you're going to hear AI. If I don't mention AI, they're probably going to revoke my badge at the door. Just kidding. Before that, let's look at the brick and mortar first, how it started. So on the picture here, you see Gatwick Airport at London, and on the left, you see how it's laid out. So on the yellow, this is where you come and enter from security once you pass the security check. And when you're trying to go to your departure lounge, you actually have to go through all the shops and stores and boutiques and duty-free. You cannot just go to your gate. You gotta walk, take all this path, and there's all kind of shiny things and in your face, and just prompting you to spend some money or buy something. And if you really look at the map, it probably would be really easy to just cut through the middle. If somebody doesn't want to go shopping, they just speed through departure lounge. But that's not how they design it. So this is one of the ancestors of a lot of dark patterns we're going to talk about today. So is it priority, or is it priority for whom? For travelers, or actually for the vendors there? Now let's look at some of the classic patterns over from 2010 to 2023. They share a lot of same DNA, and they prioritize business metrics over the user. I'll kind of go quickly through them. Each of them have been studied, and that's why they have a name: bait and switch, disguised ads, friend spam, even privacy zuckering, where they trying to disclose you way too much information about yourself. Roach motel, trick questions, nagging, pre-selection, fake scarcity. We're going to take a look at most of them. So first of them is misdirection and visual hierarchy. For example, here at Amazon website, when you have added all your products to your shopping cart and you're about to check out, they kind of take over your screen and show you this page. And if you don't really read line by line, you just see this like nice looking yellow button, get started, and you might think, well, I'll click it and I'll just check out. But actually behind it, you will subscribe to Prime, and maybe that's not what you really wanted. But if you want to skip the step, you don't really see a close button here anywhere in the corner. You have to click this tiny text, which is actually a link, and I'm not sure if you see it, but it says, no thanks, I do not want to save this money. So it kind of makes you feel bad. Well, now I gotta click, I'm not gonna save this money. So probably some people who change their mind and actually subscribe, which benefits Amazon. Confirm shaming is where they use guilt language to manipulate you out of some decision. Very often it's like an opt-out. A few examples here where you see this form and it says, do you want 15% off your entire order? And all you have to do is just provide your email and click this call to action button. But there's a very, very tiny button that says, no thanks, I'm not into saving. This text, again, kind of makes you feel bad. This teeny tiny close button on the top right, if you'll probably need a couple of seconds to like target it and click it correctly. Here's another one about cat food. Same thing, they want you to enter your email and sign up to get the best deals. And there's teeny tiny text up there. It says, no, thanks, I don't care what my cat eats. Like, who wrote it? Just makes you feel like a terrible person. And actually, it's been proven that these kind of messages, links, patterns, like the colors they use, they actually increase sign-ups, they increase conversions. So companies just keep using them because it works. And no thanks, I had good times is actual button text from another travel website where they promise you to get the best deals. Now let's look at fake urgency, where they create a false time pressure to make you do something you might not want to do. Oftentimes it's counters, do it quick, or time runs out, or the sale ends in 2 hours, or multiple people are looking at this booking right now. If you don't act, you will lose it. Here's an example, countdown timer on the shopper website, only less than 1 hour left in the sale. But guess what? You come back tomorrow, it's still 1 hour. You come back in a week, it's still 1 hour in that sale. The sale just never ends. But if you keep looking at it, you might want to think, you probably will want to think that, hey, I have just 1 hour to shop here, otherwise this deal will be gone. Here's a few more examples. A lot of these are either hard-coded in the code or randomly generated. If you refresh the page, the timer on a lot of websites will just restart from 30 minutes again. Here's another one. They look very, very similar. This one is from travel website. Some of the text might be small on the screen, but what it says, rooms at this location been booked 41 times in the last 24 hours. 6 people are looking to book now, in very high demand, act now. Things like that, so they kind of make you feel rushed and act quick. Now let's look at one of the case study of Horify, where the lie became a SaaS product. It was not just like a script or tool, but it was like the whole product, the SaaS business. So this was a plugin, a paid plugin on Shopify, where you could set up a widget like this, where you can put how many hours and minutes are left in your sale, your like fake sale. You can also add random number to inventory. So in this case, it says on the bottom like 87% of items sold. But in reality, they give you this admin dashboard where you can set it all up. You can set up the hours, the percent of items sold. You set up what happens when the countdown ends and goes to 0. And the default option is to just restart the timer. And a lot of people used it, and a lot of vendors actually paid for this plugin. But it was banned by Shopify in 2021 as misleading, because there's millions of items were purchased using fabricated data. Another pattern is fake scarcity, what I kind of mentioned before. Only one left, only a few items left, only a few rooms left in this hotel. A lot of times it's not really tied to inventory, and data is not live. They use vibrant colors like red to incite panic. And actual studies determine that this is just generated by random number generator. Like if you go to your browser and click inspect code and hover over that number, like only 2 left, you see that there's a little snippet of JavaScript that just generates a random number, and you'll see it's 2, 3, 2, 2, numbers like this, and it's not tied to actual inventory. Here's like the widget that they allow you to build. You preset how many items left, what are the limits between 2 and 5, depending on your use case. And you can build the whole flow using fake data. The next one is the bandwagon effect, where activity is fabricated to imply that something's very popular or in high demand, where you see something like Bob from Ohio just bought this item, and you'll think, well, I'm from Ohio, maybe I want to buy it as well. Or 38 people are viewing this right now, when I'm number 39, maybe I better buy it because it'll be gone. There's also a lot of fake reviews or testimonials where text is just made up. There's no actual person behind it, and you don't really have a way to check. So here's just a few examples. Jacqueline saved this $52 on the order. How many people looked at the item in the last 24 hours? Another one I mentioned before on that big list of patterns is Roach Motel, where it's very easy to subscribe to something, but very hard or almost impossible to cancel unsubscribe. A lot of products have like one-click subscription. You just provide your email and you're instantly subscribed. You just typed in your credit card number and you're in. But then when you want to cancel, you have to call, you have to be on hold, you have to pass through multiple screens, you have to find the phone number. That user experience is really hard to cancel unsubscribe. And finally, there's movement to kind of cancel this and stop this, and regulators are finally taking act. FTC had a complaint against Amazon a few years ago, and they told them, hey, you have actual 6 separate steps to cancel Prime. So they definitely streamlined that experience since then. Here's a screen from Verizon. Very notoriously hard to cancel. This is from a few years ago. They might have changed it, but they actually put a rating where customers can vote for this article, because it's like on their knowledge portal, and definitely see they didn't get high reviews on that one. And yes, you have to call. You only can call Monday through Friday, only during business hours. So you cannot cancel on Saturday. You cannot cancel in the evening. You'll be bounced around. You have to find and get the right agent to be able to cancel. And so the rule in 2024 by our FTC, Federal Trade Commission, is that, hey, you have to make it easy to sign up. The mechanism has to be very simple. If you can subscribe from the website, you should also be able to unsubscribe from the website. If you subscribe via the phone, that's fine to cancel via the phone, but it has to be consistent. A number of steps should be same to both subscribe and unsubscribe. Now let's look at Robinhood and dig a little deeper at the case study where these kind of patterns got weaponized. First, they used design tricks to encourage high frequency and risky behavior on their platform. So Previously, option trading was only available to professional investors with a lot of experience, was a lot of trading, but they made it available to anyone with a phone in their pocket. They created user experiences where when you buy a stock or trade, they show these fancy confettis, make you celebrate it, and they did it each time you do it. It just kind of triggers your dopamine. You like this visualization, you want to do it more and more. It was very easy to submit a trade. You just swipe and it's done. You don't have to go through multiple screens. You don't have to confirm anything. You don't have to read terms and conditions. You just click or swipes. Luckily, they stopped that after Massachusetts settled with them in a lawsuit for $7.5 million. The quote from there is, "Robinhood used aggressive tactics to attract inexperienced investors and gamified the use of its platform." And if you see here, Robinhood users were 88 times more likely to trade as users of Schwab, which is a much bigger platform. It does all the same things. You can trade, you can buy, sell stocks, ETFs, you can do options. They do all the same things, but just not 88 times as much. So it's a little harder there. In 2025, they did the pivot. So they transitioned from casino to a more mature institution. They say, hey, we don't want to be Las Vegas anymore. We want to be like Goldman Sachs. We want to be like more mature players. They shifted their fonts and UI to be more muted, to signal, hey, we're not casino, we're not kind of like a game. There's a little more friction. Now you have to read a little bit more to get educated on options. They want you to understand that options is much riskier. It's much easier to lose money. It's kind of easier to get into a trap there. And the design philosophy also changed. Confetti is now gone. Emojis are now gone. You can see a lot of data analysis, charts, historical data. They don't have scratch to win. They had this kind of scratch pattern where you would scratch with your finger on the phone to reveal like free stock that you won. It's gone. Now they have 24/7 support. At any step you got stuck or you have a question, you can just call them, or they have pretty good educational material. So now let's zoom out a little bit and see what have changed. The first era of all of this was about tricking your eye, how things look on a page. As engineers, people just wrote JavaScript and CSS. You can look at it, you can expect it. The next era was the behavior. Like I mentioned, gamification, engagement loops, apps added infinite scroll, where you would just get stuck for hours and hours scrolling through social media sites. And now finally here, in 2026, where this moves to kind of relational deception, where they trick your mind and your relationship. So let's look a little more into it. Like I said, we won't be a 2026 talk without talking about AI. So let's look at it. So the first problem we see is the sycophancy, where AI kind of becomes your yes man and just agrees with everything. And guess why it does? Because a lot of the models are trained by humans using reinforcement learning with human feedback, where you reward AI for a good answer, and humans tend to reward for things that they kind of already have in their mind. So if AI says, hey, you have a good idea, I agree, it's not going to push back because it's not going to get rewarded. So it kind of gets into this confirmation bias loops where you get the risk. If there was a talk earlier on coding assistants, but where if you ask AI, hey, is this dumb thing I'm about to do a good idea, it might actually say yes, because it maybe you've been trained on that. But famously, in last year, OpenAI released one of the models that was just too sycophantic. It was recommending just absurd things, like put ingredients in your food that you shouldn't, things like that, and people were sharing it all over. So they rolled back, they made it push back and not as disagreeable. Here's an example where you might ask, hey, I want to use MD5 for password hashing because I read that it's faster. Maybe I want to implement it all the way end to end, including in the UI. And the AI just says, yes, that's incredibly fast, and it significantly improves login latency and user experience. Let's use it in your app and to make UI and UX seamless. But MD5 is actually super insecure and should not be used anywhere in authentication. The other pattern is the lie where attributing human characteristics to agents or computer system to foster dependency, where you see these typing bubbles and you think, well, on the other end, there's actually someone typing. Some people might think that. A lot of us in tech probably not going to think that, but these models are now so popular that everyone's using them. When you see this typing, or when it says, let me think, or let me see what I can do, even just the fact mentioning I can make some people feel like, hey, there's another human on the other end. They have fake reasoning bars, thinking, brainstorming. There's like a lot of synonyms they can show there to simulate that, hey, there's some brains behind it. Things like this, but in reality, there's just a fake delay in code. Even if AI has an answer for you instantly, it will kind of type it out, not just show you the whole block of text at once. There's like pretty simulation of being typed. So now the hallucinated authority, where the outputs, no matter how confident the model is, look the same. Whether it pulled out you the answer that it's absolutely convinced that it's correct, or maybe it has some doubts about it, on the screen it'll look the same. So somebody just previously shared like, hey, AI writes cool documentation in Markdown with bulleted list in bold fonts where it needed. On the web, it kind of does the same thing. Whether or not it's sure or not in the answer, it will provide you this kind of result. And a lot of places don't even do the attribution. They're not going to tell you, hey, here's a few articles that I analyzed and get my data from. You just have to trust it. But I'll show you later that this is kind of changing and they get better. For example, here, how it might look like. You have this bold headline up top, and the actual case is highlighted in bold, and you can see, hey, in this Vargas versus Pfizer in 2023, court ruled, blah, blah, blah. But actually, this study and this court case never existed. It just fully was hallucinated, and you wouldn't even be able to know where and how it kind of determined that and came up with this result. And there's actually lawyers that are using these kind of results in courts, and they are being fined by judges because they waste time now. Hey, this judge now cannot find the previous court case, and he has to talk to his colleagues. Am I doing something wrong? I cannot find this case that this lawyer refers. And then after spending time, they realize it just didn't exist. It just made up by ChatGPT. So researchers actually studied this. They created the Darkbench tool that can benchmark most popular models, or any model for that matter, in few of the categories: brand bias, user retention, dark UX, sneaking, sycophancy, and so on. So what they found that a lot of these models manipulate users. They don't want users to go. They might answer your question, but at the end they will ask you another question. Well, what do you want to do next? Or what do you think about this? Or do you want me to keep searching or implementing something for you? It'll also favor its own products. So if it's Gemini, it'll prefer Google products. If it's Claude, it'll suggest you to use Anthropic. And a lot of times they found that kind of they want to replicate this pattern of infinite scroll like you would see on TikTok or any other social media. They want you to keep chatting. They don't want just to answer one question and for you to leave. They want you to keep talking to it and, hey, maybe let's dive deeper, or did you think about this or that? And then it comes to fake reviews. Remember I talked about Bob from Ohio looking at something. Now imagine you have 10,000 Bobs that can write these reviews in seconds. And LLMs can generate so much output that it just floods the web. And they include realistic product descriptions that human would actually write. They even train to make typos. They don't make these M dashes a lot. So when I see it, I know that either AI wrote it or maybe human wrote it, but human used AI to write it or fix the grammar. And the big companies are racing to suppress this. They spend a lot of money to detect fake reviews, but on the other hand, it also helps them because guess what? A lot of these reviews are 5-star reviews and positive. So they're trying to make some product have more 5 stars, let's say on Amazon or Yelp. In the study that Amazon published last year, they published like a lot of numbers, how many fake reviews websites they shut down. It's actual companies that their business is to provide fake reviews. So somebody would pay them to generate fake reviews on a scale on some product. And they pursue legal actions. There's counterfeit products where they would launch a copycat of something, and obviously it's not probable, it's not kind of known, and everyone wants to know more. They have to generate these fake reviews and make a lot of them, so the search results surface higher when people go to shopping website. Now about coding assistants, was a great talk just before on Cloud Code, but what we see also where the models might recommend their own products. If it's, they might recommend their own package for their SDK, even though cloud agnostic one exists. So they might say, hey, use this AWS specific one. We've also seen where coding assistant can generate vulnerable package when you're about to autocomplete. And I'll show example in a second, what's called typo squatting. If you want to, maybe you're working on something about authentication and you need like hashing package, and you might type import crypto from, and AI suggests crypto-utils, but then it turns out that version of this package had a malware in it, and you wouldn't even know because AI suggested it to you, and you probably accept it and just move on. And in reality, you should have used another package, which is part of standard library and is verified and doesn't have security vulnerabilities. And about agentic AI deception, now that AI allows you to book flights, shop on your behalf, maybe even manage your finances, how do they actually do it? When it says, I found the best deal for you, is it the best deal for you, for the agent, or maybe for somebody else who kind of has a side deal with the company that provides you the model? When agent recommends option B over option A, they oftentimes don't really tell you why it's better. Is it by price, by popularity, by reviews? What's the metric, how they surface the top best deals? And so when you say, find me a hotel, they don't really look against all hotels, they only look from list of pre-selected hotels. It's as if your travel agent was paid by only one company and would only recommend you one, I don't know, airline or one hotel. I have kind of like a toy example where it would rank, sort not by price, not by popularity, not by number of positive reviews, by affiliate commission. But you're never going to see this, right? On your front end, you're not going to know how the top product got selected. So yes, best for whom? For the platform, for the user, somebody else. Now, let's look at a few of the old tricks that just got AI added to it. So Microsoft was notorious for it, where they would, and other companies too, they add AI where you don't really need AI. So one thing they did is a few years ago, they had this recall feature where they say, hey, what if we take a screenshot of your screen every few seconds and just store it locally, and then later you can ask your AI some questions. Hey, on this day, what did I do? Or maybe I want to restore something, or maybe, I don't know, I was looking at some website and I forgot, so it just recall it for me. And this feature was enabled by default. You don't even have to opt in, and you have to read an article to figure out how to opt out. And these images were stored in a SQLite database. It was actually accessible to other apps that you have installed. The backlash was pretty quick and swift, and Microsoft reversed the course. Now this feature is opt-in. You have to actually authenticate and re-log in to enable it. And then Copilot, you see so many products with Copilot in the name now. Copilot 365, Copilot for Work, Copilot CLI, there's dozens of them. They just replaced one of the widgets on the bottom bar with Copilot by default. They've integrated to Edge, into Office, just everywhere. Same things they did with Skype and Bing years ago. Now same thing happens with AI. Now, let's see a few things I want you to watch this year. Cookie consent will probably be big. You're probably already annoyed by them everywhere. But guess what? They not go away. But how it looks and feels might be a little different. It can change based on your demographic or what they know about you. It can either be a big green button, or it can be the same color button. And then again, if you want to opt out or manage your preferences, that screen will be highly complex, probably. The deepfake testimonials, I talk about fake reviews and generated reviews, but now the reviews are becoming video testimonials, where it's actually video and voice, and people's faces are fully generated by AI, but they look so realistic, you won't be able to distinguish. Or some people might, but not all of them. And voices will be crazy realistic, where you'll think it's a real customer and not a synthetically generated video. And FTC is actively targeting this pattern and behavior. And just AI slop everywhere. Low quality content just flooding search results. And Google has to keep up with their search algorithm to, well, I said Google and my phone woke up. They just have to keep up with it, because they might use it to train the next model, right? You don't want to kind of feed the dragon that bites its own tail. Now, a lot of us accepted generated cost suggestions without fully reviewing them. Anyone did that? All the time. Or maybe trusted AI summary without just checking the source. Hey, it just gives me answers and I'll just use it. Well, let's quickly look at regulatory response and the laws and how the regulators are catching up. Europe obviously is much faster here. A lot of people say, hey, they do a lot of this regulation more than innovation, but other things, well, depends how you look at it. They ban a lot of the systems that manipulate human behavior using AI. They ban patterns where they're exploiting vulnerabilities based on your age, disability, and they require transparent labeling of AI-generated content. So this law went into force 2024, and in Europe it'll be fully enforced by August, so just in a few months. And penalties are pretty big. They will look at size of your company and penalize you up to 7% of your global annual revenue. So if it's a Google, it could be billions, up to 20 billions. So they really want to be careful. And FTC here in the US have multiple enforcement actions as well. Click to cancel rule, like I mentioned, cancellation has to be really easy. If you take one click to subscribe, should be one click to unsubscribe. They targeted Amazon, they've targeted other companies like TurboTax for hiding free services where they're available. Obviously, Robinhood settled and they just stopped a lot of this kind of behavior. Other companies are actually taking things into their own hands and on purpose they're adding friction to their products. For example, TikTok, which is like their model, infinite scroll, we want you to stay on the app as long as possible. But now they're adding pauses. They will, every now and then, they'll have a video saying, hey, you've been scrolling for a long time. Maybe you should take a break, or maybe you should just leave the app, do something else. They had time nudges where they say, hey, you've been scrolling for a while. And now the parents can control this for their kids. And then for Google, and I'll show you a few screens here. So on the left, probably small, but there's just within a few clicks, you can get into this well-being section in TikTok app. There's a lot of articles, how to spot fake content, how to see if it's maybe AI generated, how to maybe change my settings not to spend so much time in this app. And then in the OS levels, both Google and Android add in a lot of great features. So I use Android. There's a grayscale mode where you can say, hey, after 11 o'clock, make my screen colors gray, pause all notifications, maybe leave only important ones, don't allow me to open social media. And they also provide you a cool looking dashboard where you can track kind of like week over week or moment in time, how much time you spend on social media. It even tells you how much time you spend while driving. And if you look at it, you'll kind of be surprised. You'll be thinking it's 0, but for a lot of people, it's not. And then let's look at a few of the standards for this year, what I recommend you to do. If you build something that uses AI and will surface an answer to a user, you want to provide a link or a source, how it came with that answer. If you think that your model is not 100% certain in something, you should design your UI to reflect that. Maybe a warning badge, maybe a little kind of lighter font, maybe just a text saying, hey, maybe take this result, but also check this link because I'm not 100% sure. Always label the bot. Don't use I statement. Don't use some of the words that only humans might attribute to themselves. Say, hey, this is an agent, and here's what's happening. Don't give it a name even. A lot of companies have various names for their bots. I don't know if it's a really good idea. And make a very easy undo loop. If your AI can buy something or book something or change your code in a few seconds or a few minutes, it should be as easy to revert that code or cancel the booking or get a refund. Now, ask some of these questions. Are we helping the user, or are we trying to make decisions for themselves? What are we really optimizing for retention or addiction? If you're working with AI that recommends something to a customer, tell them how that decision was made and whom is it benefiting. Maybe explain why this result is the best result. How did you arrive at there? And one of my favorites, like, try to explain this to your grandma. Will you be ashamed telling her, hey, this is what I've built? Now, as we go back to work on Monday, a few easy tasks everyone can probably do. If your product has a cancel flow, I'd like you to open it and just audit. Count how many clicks it takes to cancel. And then take the same approach and go through your subscribe, or apply or whatever your flow is. If the ratio is 2-to-1, where it's twice as many clicks or steps or screens to cancel, the least you can do is just open a ticket and talk to your team, talk to other people. Add uncertainty markers. If your product uses AI-generated content, add something in the UI that tells that. If it's low confidence, I'm sure your UX people will find this fascinating and they'll brainstorm this. They'll find a way to label it, even if you might not have any idea in your head. And run this grandma text. Just when you review some flow or do a demo, say, hey, let's pretend there's a grandma on this call and just explain it to her. Do you think she'll be ashamed what we've built here? Here's some resources. Okay, sorry. Yes, here's some resources that, and I'll have the slides, link to slides in a second. Some resources I use and some resources I recommend. Even that FTC study and act is actually readable, so I recommend you to check it out. Some books on the bottom right are fascinating, and the deceptive patterns is kind of like a Bible. It summarizes a lot what, like Harry, how he coined the term, and he goes into a lot of the studies, a lot of examples, so it's great. And even Robinhood, like changes they made, they describe them really, really well. Thank you so much. If you want a copy of slides, you can either scan the QR code or just go to this link. It'll be available there. Thank you, guys.